Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJBZO, and it's time to get to more of me messing around with Chameleon. Um, so this next deck that I am working with right now is based on around using Junk Synchron, Mass Chameleon, and Dark Sea Rescue in order to put synchros on the board and gain card advantage. Now what you're about to see is something kind of crazy. You'll notice that I have a tuning wear in my opening hand. That's something that I'm trying to test out because I started this with a plant engine that I really didn't like. So I'm trying to switch some things out because I thought that the plant engine was turning out dead. So what's about to happen is I'm about to have an argument with him that I am obviously correct about. He tried to flip summon him, hit that Pegasus the same turn that he summoned it in face down defense position. Which, as you guys all know, you can't do. You can't special summon a monster and then flip summon it unless it's by card effect, which it didn't do. So, yeah, he's going to argue with me about that, but really the important thing is here I'm talking about the tuning wares. So the tuning wares are in there right now kind of to fill in the space that was left by my taking out the plant engine. The reason I didn't like the plant engine was it was turning out more dead more often than not. And something I like about Tuningware is it's useful with Junk Synchron. It's something you can bring back from the graveyard and synchro with and get more card advantage with Junk Synchron. Also, I'm running a copy of Machine Dupe, as you can see later in this video. So I like the idea of being able to Machine Dupe the Tuningware. My problem with it is it's only summonable by Junk Synchron, not by Chameleon. So we're still having the argument off to the side, by the way. So I'm not really liking the Tuningware as much as I thought I would. So I'm trying to find another engine that I can stick into the deck besides my junk Synchron engine that I'm working with at the moment. So he hits the Dark World Dealings button. I draw into the Maxx, and I discard the Dark Sea Rescue, which it's actually good that he played the Dark World Dealings because now I have a Dark Sea Rescue ready in the grave. And here's where I hit that Maxx, which I am really glad I did, as you will see in a moment. So right now I suspect that I know what he's doing here, and he proves me right pretty quickly. So he summons a Librarian. I'm like, oh, I know what's going on here. So he uses a Fabled Lorry to add a Kushano back to his hand. He summons the Lorry, and I draw another card, and he goes for Formula Synchron. Once again, if you guys have any ideas about what kind of engine I can run instead of the tuning wares and the machine dupe, you can let me know in the comments below and discuss the idea of having a junk Doppel deck that uses Chameleon and Dark Sea Rescue. This duel is actually a pretty bad example of how this deck works, but as you'll see, it has a really interesting outcome that I figured would be fun for you guys to check out. So he's using his Monster Reincarnation, discarding his, his Fabled Cerberell to add a Grimro back to his hand, then Cerberell is summoned from the graveyard. So he uses the Grimro, I believe, to go for a Chawa. And I just keep on drawing off of Maxx. I don't think I've ever seen this many cards in one person's hand in my life. So yeah, it's pretty obvious by now that he is going for Quasar. And he goes for that Fabled Ragin. And then he hits the Quasar button. So yeah, now I'm playing Junk Doppel against a Shooting Quasar Dragon. And this is actually a pretty good example of my top 5 myths about plussing and advantage. And one of those big myths was more card advantage means you're winning. And if you look at things right now, I've got tons of cards in my hand, but I actually have very few moves I can make. As you can see, the only monsters that can really do anything in my hand, because I drew all of my mini draw power cards, all of my tuning wares, and all of my Dark Sea Rescues are either in my hand or in my graveyard right now. So I can use the Junk Synchron to bring back that Dark Sea Rescue and try to get try to get that play off of my opponent. So what I'm going to do here is I use the 1-for-1 to discard one of my tuning wares or Darksea Rescue, one of the two, to summon a monster from my deck. And he allows it with the Quasar. And I was thinking that I was going to get another Darksea Rescue or Tuning Ware, but I've already got them in my hand, so I go for the Veiler to see if I can go for a formula play, which he has no response to my summoning the Veiler. So I normal summon. I don't remember if it was... Oh, I normal summoned a Junk Synchron. I was a little smarter than I thought I was, apparently. So I summoned the Junk Synchron to get the Darksea Rescue from the graveyard, which once again he allows. And we begin doing some crazy shenanigans. By which I mean I actually put a monster on the board. So I'm going to go for that formula so I can draw 2 cards off of that Junk Synchron, which will just allow me to have a few more options come next turn. Not that I don't have enough cards in my hand already. So yeah, this deck is a really interesting one. I'd like to mess around with it more because I absolutely love Junk Doppel, and it's a deck that I've enjoyed for a while, and I think that adding in the Darksea Rescue and Chameleon engine could increase the deck's power even more. Since the deck previously, its original incarnation came out in a format where card advantage wasn't exactly... wasn't quite as valued as it is now. The idea was to get quick and powerful plays off. It was really a big aggro format when Junk Doppel was a big deal. And you could get a lot of card advantage off of your opponent using things like Maxx. Or you could gain draw power off of Formula and what's his futz, Librarian. But really it was more about getting more powerful plays off. Now that I'm trying to out Junk Synchron, or a Junk Doppel deck in an era in which card advantage is a bigger deal, I think that the Darksea Rescue and Chameleon engine might actually be a big boost for the deck. I'm just trying out different ways of, putting the Darksea Rescue in the graveyard and generating card advantage through other engines, putting more power on the board. Maybe a Cyber Dragon in the deck would be helpful to get like level 9 plays off, or level even just other things to do besides just putting out my level 5s and level 4s and drawing cards. So right now I'm just kind of looking at my options to see if it's a good idea to try and use that BLS this turn, because I want to get rid of that Quasar. But the Quasar is going to negate my BLS, probably along with any attempts, whatever that card is face down. It's probably also going to take out any attempts that I'm going to make any summons. So I decide to pitch the Maxx from my deck because I don't want to draw into it again, because it isn't going to help me right now. It could in fact be counteractive if he makes me, draw out my deck. So I want to pitch that Maxx so I don't end up top decking it, because there are much better things that I could have in my hand next turn than a Maxx. So I decide to set the Torrential and the double breakthrough skill, because it is highly likely that he is going to try and use Quasar to run down my monsters and my life points, and I'd like to be able to take out Quasar's effect. So I go for the tuning just to make sure that I don't draw into Junk Synchron and make it dead next turn. And it turns out really well for me, because I add the Junk Synchron to my hand, and with the Junk Synchron I end up pitching my other Maxx. So that made it even less likely, of course, that I would gain a Maxx in my next turn, so I was really happy about that. So during my end phase, I pitch all the tuning wares, because they're pretty much dead in my hand. So I get rid of all 3 of them, and that gives me a lot of options for putting BLS on the board, even if he uses something by some weird chance that banishes cards from my graveyard. So he goes into his next turn, and this next play I did not see coming at all. He plays Lightning Vortex, discarding his Kushano to take out my field. So that's kind of a problem, and I don't really have any response to it. Um, and he's really expecting um, me to try and take out that Shooting Quasar this turn. But instead, I decide to break through Skillet, so it can't attack me for game. Breakthrough Skillet. Sorry, for some reason that was really funny to me. So he negates it, so I break through Skillet again. um, so now his Quasar only attacks me for 4,000, which means I'm still not in the best position in the world, but I have some moves that I can make. So next turn, after he sets another card that I'm going to have to deal with, I somehow managed to outplay him with a Quasar on the board, and this is where things got really interesting. So what I decided to do was, in order to try and fake him out, oh no, look at that. I was even smarter than I thought I was. I used Breakthrough Skills effect to make sure that his Quasar couldn't negate any of my effects. So now I've got pretty much a free board, especially with Forbidden Lance in my hand. I would only have to worry about that back row if it's a Solemn of some sort. So this is where I go for my interesting plays. I use BLS by banishing a Tuning Wear and a Darkseat Rescue from my grave, since I don't need any more of those. So I summon the BLS. I then use the BLS's effect, I'm pretty sure, yep, to banish the Quasar, which then gives him a Shooting Star Dragon. So he's got that Shooting Star Dragon, which is, it's better than a Quasar, but it's still kind of a problem because I've got that Torrential face down that I would like to be able to use. So next I go into Junk Synchron because my BLS is kind of a sitting duck at the moment. I'm thinking about using Junk Synchron. And I would like to be able to go into a Balmung play so that I have options with things like Formula Synchron and stuff like that. But I decide that it's a better idea for me to actually give that BLS the attack boost that it would normally need in order to get over that Shooting Star Dragon. So I summon myself an Armory Arm, and I get the draw off of Tuning Wear, which I believe, interestingly enough, turns out to be a tuning. And that kind of sucks. But, it was a free card, so I figured, whatever. So I use the Armory Arm to equip to BLS to make sure that it can't get run over by the Shooting Quasar. And then I pretty much just sit on that. I put the Lance face down so that I can take out the Quasar even if he removes Armory Arm from the board. Or in case he tries to pull another Lightning Vortex on me. So he uses his face down card, which turns out to be a Goblin, what is it called? Upstart Goblin, which is great because it gives me more life points, and life points are definitely something I need at this point in time. So he uses Fabled Kushano to ditch his Fabled Cruce, which I believe he uses to get himself a Grimrow? I'm not sure. No, he uses something that can get him a level 5, and I'll tell you why that's significant in a second. He uses his Cruce to summon another Kushano. He then discards his Grimrow to get something that I don't remember at the moment. We'll see in a second. So this is the first time in a long time I've actually seen a Fabled deck be somewhat successful. I feel like he opened with the nuts, though. I can't get a gauge of whether that Fabled deck is actually as good as it looked like it was. But he's really going at it now. So he has the stuff to make a level 5, which is kind of scary to me because I have a BLS and it could be a Cataster, and that would be a major problem for me because I would have to use other methods to take out that darn Shooting Star Dragon. I have the Veiler, which means I would use BLS's effect on the Cataster next turn, which would be good, and I could get around that. But he goes for the Grimrow with Cruce, and sinks for 7 using Black Rose to try and blow up my BLS and my 2 back row. So I decided at this point that it's probably a good idea for me to go for the Veiler, because I like my BLS and it's the strongest play I have right now. It may have been smarter for me to let him nuke the field, because I have cores in my hand, and he wouldn't have been able to save his Shooting Star Dragon. He would have gone for had to have gone for some other play. I also had Junk Synchron in my hand, which means I could have gone for Balmung. But instead, I Veilered the Black Rose, and he used the Kushano and the Nazuchi that he summoned to go for Raijin, which he could have gone for Catastor and pretty much won the game at that point. But he instead goes for Raijin, which is probably the less smart choice. He goes for Card Destruction, which I kind of understand to a degree, because it helps him out, a little more than not using it when he's got that Fabled Cerberus in his hand. But it doesn't appear to have given him anything special. He gets that Dark World Dealings, which he uses out of desperation, hoping that he can get something that he can use to make another play to take out the BLS. But he doesn't, and he ends up burning the last card in his hand. So at this point, I now have a Veiler, which means I'm protected from another Catastor or another Black Rose play. I have a Maxx Chameleon, which means that even if my BLS goes down, I have access to a Catastor or an Armades. I've got Torrential, so yeah, he decides that this is time for him to quit.
Hey guys, I hope you liked the Duel video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button to let me know that you guys want to see more of this, and if you did, let me know why in the comments below. Then, if you guys want to see more of what I've got going for you guys in the future, of course, hit that subscribe button so that you can have that newsfeed ready for you whenever I put up a video. Just a sneak preview of what's coming up in the near future. I have some deck workshops from your guys' content that you guys sent to me, some deck profiles, even a stupid deck for August, and then I have more dual videos involving more of my Chameleon decks, Teleduck, even Chainbeat, and I've even got my own deck profiles coming your way for all of those Chameleon decks, and some other decks that I'm just playing around with right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed all the content I've been bringing you guys for the last couple of weeks. I have way more to come, and stick around for more. Thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.